1996, this city hosted the games of the 26th Olympiad, and in a few years will be one of the host cities for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It's the home of the Falcons, the Hawks, and the Braves, and for this week and next, we are proud to add another international competition to an already storied sports town. Welcome to the capital city of the American South. Welcome to Georgia. I'm Caliber Jacob Anderson, your host for this event's proceedings, and I'm joined by two boys on the desk, our brother from just over the border, North American analyst Jesse J. Chick, and European analyst and former G2 analyst Jack Fresh Allen. Gentlemen, I know you've both worked events in the States before, but as the local, I gotta say it, welcome back to America.
Oh, thank you, Jacob. It feels good being back here in not only just the U.S., but also NA in general, right? It's been a little while since we've had an event here, so always good to be back.
The first time we was here, or the first time I was here at least, Charlotte Major was a lot of fun. It was a great event, and the NA fans are nuts, so I am so excited to be back.
There's going to have to be a lot of things that happen for this event to top Charlotte for you guys specifically, right? Because that crowd was pretty insane in North Carolina.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We got the full NA winning, too. So, yeah, it's an event to remember. And I think this one, it's going to be tough to top it.
I think it'll be hard to, replicate a double NA, like two NA teams in the grand final. But we'll see. We'll see.
We're going to hope for it. Obviously, we hope the NA teams maybe have the opportunity to defend home turf in the NAL. That's at least what we've been preaching for the past couple of weeks. But now is the time for those teams to step up. And Jack would be really happy if for some reason North America actually didn't end up winning here at Atlanta. Let's talk Swiss. We opened up this major already talking about the play-ins, which we have already concluded. We started with 24 teams. We moved back down to 16. 8 of them went home over the course of just the first 2 days, and 8 more move on to face another 8 that have already qualified. So if it sounds a little bit confusing, it will make a lot more sense in practice, don't worry.
Indeed, and now we've got really the big guys coming in too. Any team who finished top 2 in one of the big 3 regions, or some of the other teams that qualified in through Japan or Korea, we've got some of the best teams in the world finally here in Atlanta ready to show their stuff. So we are in for an amazing weekend.
And obviously it was seeded so that the teams that came in from phase 2 only were playing up against a play-in team. So it's kind of a weighted bracket in the first day as it is, but it's Swiss. So you get 3 lives in a Swiss system. Even if you end up losing today, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and the big thing to keep note of is that if you were ever in a best-of-3 situation, that is elimination territory, and you've got basically no lives left at that point. You've got 1 map of leniency, but from that point, you have to win out if you want to qualify for the next phase. Let's talk predictions, though, because we do have a couple teams that are going to go undefeated, and we have some that are not going to win a single series, and this is what we concocted. For me, I figure a team like NIP might have a surprise factor and could go 3-0, but I think across the board, none of us really have that much faith in Dplus.
I think you've all gone safe, right? So, because I've gone for the predictions. So we did the predictions of which team's going to go 3-0 and fly through, which team's going to go 0-3 and fly out, and then which team's going to win the major. Now, everyone has basically, apart from me and Fox, has said that Dplus are going to get eliminated. It's just behind us. I've gone a little bit different. I've gone for Dark Zero.
A spicy pick. The reigning North American major champions, we can say. They won the last major here in the U.S.
They shouldn't be even in this phase. They were very lucky.
All right, man. All right. Calm down.
Hot take. But it's all right. I mean, North America, it's not all bad. A lot of us are predicting Sonics to go through. Some Brazilian love from you and I, Jacob, as well. So I think we got an interesting phase coming up.
Let's talk about casters real fast. I think, again, at the very bottom, you'll see the major winner. Most people universally have put W7M thinking that there's going to be a repeat from the Copenhagen major, that they will be the first ever back-to-back major champions. And then you got people like James, who decided to put Scars as his major winner.
He's got to show them.
I mean, he does every event, doesn't he?
He's ever hopeful. You can't take it away from him.
Yeah, he totally is. Which one in here seems the most outlandish, do you think?
I think other than the Scars pick, one interesting one there that I saw was VP as the winning team. Obviously, they've done very well in Europe, but they did in Stage 1 as well. And when we saw the Stage 2 major, that was a big disappointment for them. So if they can overcome that, that would be a big story.
There's a lot of grumblings amongst the European pro community that this is VP's tournament. So I think, if there is a dark horse for this tournament, obviously you're going to have W7M, M80, the main people that you talk, G2 that you talk about as the favorites. If there's a dark horse, I do think it is VP.
We have to run through the entirety of a Swiss stage in just 5 days, and in order to do that, we have to get through 8 best-of-1s both today and tomorrow. So starting off on just the schedule for today, Dplus and Los will be our first matchup on the docket, and then we'll run through 8 games today, the exact same 8 idea tomorrow, but tomorrow will be the winners of the games today and the losers from the games today facing one another. So today, all it does is set the stage.
Indeed. Today, we're seeing our first look, and for some teams, right, the first time we'll ever see them here in Atlanta. So really going to get to know some of these squads. And whilst it is still just a best of one, you can still go anywhere from this game. It's important to start your tournament off right.
Yeah, because obviously, you want to be going through you want to be getting 3 wins. So you want to be going through on day 3. That gives you day 4 and 5 to sit and watch your opponent, really craft your strategies, and it will give you the highest seed going into the playoffs. So as much as today and tomorrow are setting the stage, they are still very important.
And obviously the last thing that we have to bear in mind is that this is the final opportunity for some teams to qualify for the 6th Invitational. There are no SI quals, so this is do or die for some squads. The 2 teams at the bottom, Sandbox and M&M, are currently in top 20. They have the chance to qualify, but they need a lot of things to go in their favor. Several other teams need to not get a whole bunch of points. Bleed, BDS, and Los are all boundary teams right now outside the top 20 that do have the chance to qualify. They do well enough here.
Yeah, so there's 3 spots still open up for grabs. 5 teams have potential to grab those last 3 SI spots. I think if you're looking at this realistically, Sandbox, they've got a lot of points already. They're in a pretty good spot to qualify.
Yeah.
You've got BDS, who, if they can make top 8s, they're feeling very good. It's not confirmed, but they're feeling very, very lucky, or feeling good about that. And then for me, it kind of comes down to Bleed or M&M, right? How well does Bleed do? If they really struggle in this tournament, M&M may be going on through. And then Los kind of a dark horse. If they can go up to quarterfinals, man, they're in the conversation.
And all Bleed need to do, if it does come down to the Bleed M&M for the 20th spot, like pretty much everybody's expecting, all Bleed need to do is win 1 fixture in the Swiss stage.
Ooh.
Which means M&M are going to be sat watching today, hoping they lose. M&M are going to be sat tomorrow, hoping they lose. And then it's going to get to a best of 3 for Bleed to stay in the tournament if it did go like that, where M&M again will be hoping that they lose.
Yeah. Well, Los is one of the teams that's on that docket, and they are our first matchup of the day. They've got Dplus of all teams. That is a quite interesting draw, especially to start things off. And they've been over here setting up for the past little while. But the big thing to keep in mind is that their countrymen were knocked out prior to their arrival, but now Korea has sent in the reinforcements. Dplus have finally landed as the last hope of a nation, still hunting for that first land victory, and they open up their major campaign in our first match of Swiss against Los.
Yeah, it's something to prove, I think, not only for themselves, but for their entire region, their entire country, because Korea, let's face it, horrible showing in Atlanta so far.
Yeah.
Both of the other Korean teams that were here in Atlanta got sent home in the play-ins. Right now, they're looking like a relatively weak region. Dplus, we know them as the top team in Korea. They've long dominated down there. But with the strength of the region really being thrown into question throughout Phase 1, a lot of people are going to be looking at Dplus like, well, what does it really mean to be the best in Korea?
And as you can see, Dplus already confirmed for SI, so this major is very much about winning the tournament. It's about regional pride. It's about showing that Korea does have some substance.
So what are we looking for from Los? I think that's the big thing that we have already started to establish. We're looking at a squad that came in and all they had to do was win 2 best-of-1s and they're already here. But there's a lot of expectations on Brazil that they're probably they are the favorite team to come in. I think Dplus is a really good opponent, but Los is going to be a whole other beast, I think.
Yeah, well, I think for Los, they obviously had a very rough stage 1, right? They started off 8th place in Brazil. They really did struggle throughout the stage. They had to come through the LCQ. They beat Liquid to make it here to the major. And for me, the big thing that struggled for Los has been their attacks. Take a look at stage 2 stats. 40% attacking win rate. This is the LCQ plus the BR stage combined. Attacking entry, 49%. Recovery, 32%. These are really rocky numbers. But what we saw in the play-ins was the initial start of that turning around. 80% attacking win rate. They doubled it going from stage 2 into the play-ins. And I think the key thing to note here is what we saw throughout Brazil in stage 2 was the early round often got away from Los. Sometimes sometimes their players would die early, sometimes they would stall out, but they never really were in a good place to convert. Take a look at that attack opening pick, though. 70% entry. That means they're doing well in these early rounds, and they're making those conversions happen. 86% of the time that they get that opening pick, they're winning the round. So whilst it is maybe a smaller sample size in Phase 1, it seems like Los's attacking worries may be over.
Yeah, I want to see them continue this because obviously if we quantify the numbers, they've had 2 teams in this tournament that are from the Asia-Pacific region,
of course,
which is significantly weaker than their Brazilian opponents, right? It's one thing saying that you've got a low attack win percentage when you go up against W7M and NiP and FaZe,
yes,
and then a high when you're going up against, you know, Bleed and Talon. So they've set good foundations. I want to see them continue that.
Let's just do a double check on their SI probability one more time because they're still relatively low down on the standings. I think when they started this event, they were within the 30s to 40s, but they still have a pretty decent climb if they want to get all the way back up to SI.
Yeah, Los sit at about 260 SI points. The long and short of it is they're looking for top 8. They're looking for quarterfinals. Yeah. I believe that won't mathematically guarantee them, but they're in a really good spot if they can get that. If they fall shorter than top 8, they're not going to SI.
I love this major because this major, in comparison to Copenhagen was just about the major. This major is about the major and 6 Invitational because 6 Invitational is the end goal. It is like the optimum tournament. That's the one that you want to go and win as a team. That's the one that you set your sights on. So for Lost One, if they get to quarterfinals, for them, they've already won the tournament, if you know what I mean, in their own heads.
So a big thing is that Dplus have yet to play any games so far, and we're going to be talking about this all of today because everyone that played in play-ins, they're already hot, they're fresh, they've played a couple games that actually matter. Dplus have yet to do anything in that same regard. Are they going to come in cold, or like how are you thinking about Los so far?
Well, I think for Dplus, you know, we saw them kind of warming up. We got to the chance to watch these players behind us and how they kind of work things through. Los spent the vast majority of the time here behind us just huddling, talking, having that conversation. Dplus, they were gaming. They were getting warmed up.
They've been tea-hunting for about an hour now.
Yeah.
Genuinely, they have.
We've done a full rehearsal, a pre-show, a pre-match, and they're still tea-hunting.
Yeah, so for Dplus, I think that's a good sign. I think I like seeing them getting warmed up. You know, I want to see them coming out fragging in the server. I think throughout the stage, they have been a little bit slow. This is something we talked about them when we saw them in Copenhagen. A lot of those attacks kind of fell apart when they stalled out, when they weren't really getting aggressive, making that action happen. I think that trend did continue to an extent in Korea for Stage 2. So that's kind of where I'm looking. If they can heat up, if they're warm coming into this game and those attacks are a little bit quicker, then that's going to be their best shot to take out Los.
And those kinds of points are the exact reason why so many casters did not have Dplus getting any higher than 0-3 in those predictions. So now it's just about them actually beating said expectations. Maps are up on deck. Let's talk about what we're doing for map 1. Again, best of ones the whole way through. We're starting with Consulate, Jack. What are we thinking here?
Oh, I mean, so these 2 teams, in terms of map preference, they both have number 1 and 2 as Consulate and Nighthaven, and number 4 as Bank. So I was going to say a number, Nighthaven or a Consulate. So just from a broad expectation, I am seriously not surprised we've gone there. It's both teams' number 2 preference map. They absolutely love it.
Yeah, I predicted a Nighthaven, and then Dplus ban it first. That's a very odd first ban. I think it's just going into how, you know, they know Los are very comfortable on this map. They know they're very strong on it. Both of these teams, 2-0 undefeated since Consulate came out. Obviously, those are both against regional opponents, but both of them like this map quite a bit, and their records certainly prove it.
I'm loving what we've got so far. Just on the face of things, I think we've only ever had one time that these guys have ever played each other. This was back when they were under the old aliases. This was Team 1 against Damwon Kia. We're not talking the same groups anymore, but that was, what was this? 6 Invitational 2022, and it's been a really long time. I think the Los roster is basically completely different since the last time we saw them play.
And the Damwon Kia roster, or the Dplus Kia roster, Damwon Kia as there was then known, was feared at that point. If you look at, this is one of the things for Dplus, is the back end of 2021, you know, when they almost got to the Yavla Major, and at some point we'll stop bringing that up, when they almost got to the final there, and then they played the 6 Invitational 2022, and they were absolutely feared by international opponents. They've had a big fall-off since then. Yes, they have attended some events, right? But they've not competed at those events. They've not instilled fear. So for Dplus, for them, there's a redemption arc in their own heads that they want to get back to that point.
And it's almost the same for Los, too. I mean, very long time ago, different roster, but Team 1, once upon a time, major champions. Over time, that has morphed into this squad, completely different players. But still, I think there's that legacy that they're trying to back up. They've got that history behind them. And now with Cameraman, their newest player coming in as well, he's kind of got that experience. He's used to winning events on FaZe Clan from back in the day. So they're going to be hungry, and they have a lot to prove coming through this event.
Everybody fears and respects Brazil at this point, but not very many people have much reason to respect Korea because both Town and Sandbox got knocked out in those play-ins. Is that a representation? Is there any reason to think that because the rest of Korea did poorly, Dplus is also going to follow suit? What do we think?
You would assume so, and I think a lot of people are and have assumed so. You know, it was really sad to see that the Dplus guys arrived after that the remaining Korean players had
Yeah.
already gone home. They never even got to see each other. But I think for Dplus, they have the quality. This is by far and away the best team in Korea. They don't really lose to anybody else, maybe Sandbox from time to time, but even then, they're still dominant in that relationship. So this is by far and away the best team. That's why they're the #1 seed. That's why they're in Phase 2. So if anybody is going to do any redemption for the region of Korea, it will be these guys behind us.
Yeah, I agree. Historically, for sure, we've seen Dplus in recent times really dominate. But if you go back to the South Korean Grand Finals here in Stage 2, that was a best of 3. It was extremely close between Dplus and Sandbox. In my opinion, Sandbox looked like the better team for the majority of that series. So I think we have in recent times seen Dplus kind of be at that same level with some of their other regional competition. And again, just based on how those competitions have gone, how the other teams have done here in Atlanta, I am worried for Dplus. And that's, I think, why a lot of people aren't expecting a whole lot from them here.
All right, it's time for the Swiss phase to start because, as a lot of people say, you get done with the play-ins, and this is where the real work begins. Let's throw it to Derry Desert Holt and Tim Ace of Pyrite Lever with the call.
I even called you Tim there, not Timothy.
Well, this is, you know, if you're going for the full title, I guess. Not many people call me Timothy, though.
No, that's one Timothy. Here we go. First game coming up. Dplus coming up against Lost. Now, look, Lost, as we said before, our underdog team. We love seeing these guys at international competition. You're seeing them warm in. They've had cameraman for 6 months. They had a pretty good showing back in play-ins, looked pretty convincing. Here they're coming up against some real competition in this final 16. But Dplus, as you've heard the Des say, a team that are very much in a bit of a lull, bit of a low place at the minute, very far away from the highs they had of a couple of years ago. However, new chances here to prove themselves coming into a new tournament. We haven't seen them play yet. They could well upset Lost in this first game. Consulate going to be the battleground. Tim, this is where the Swiss stages begin. I can't wait to see how this one plays out.
I love Swiss stages because things just change like hour to hour. It's, you know, we're covering the first couple of games today, and then we'll go and sit and watch 3 and 4 that Dev and Mandy are going to cover for us, and everything's just switching up all the time. What you think is going to happen. By the end of the day, we're going to have a bunch of teams 1-0. We're going to have a bunch of teams 0-1, and then they start pairing off. You don't know who's going to play who necessarily, and yeah, it's just, it doubles down on the chaos of play-ins, and I absolutely love it.
I love how it just bounces kind of between having the, you know, you're casting a team that's 2-0 against a team that's 2-0 to qualify, or 2 teams that are 0-2 and could be going home. It's just so back and forth, but that is the kind of chaos that I love. First ban coming out is going to be the Brava for Lost here, taking away that attacking operator, and shock horror Tim. Our second ban is the KB. I'm pretty confident in saying with that, even looking at the numbers, she is the most banned operator so far at this major.
Must be close to 100%. I think every game I've cast at least has had Dokkaebi banned out, and I'm sure plenty of the others have as well. Kaid is going to be our first defender to go, and then we've got just one more. We'll see who that's going to be. Azami maybe, Fenrir possibly. Azami it will be. It's as if I've cast this game once or twice before, Des.
Just a few times, Tim, just a few times. Azami's still very, very powerful. It's just, it's hard on the defensive side because there are so many things that you can ban away these days. You'd argue the same on the attack. You know, we're looking in towards things like Ying bans that have been coming out. Obviously, the KB is straight up there as a go-to. The Brava, though, feels very, very targeted towards this team and towards this map. Console and Meeting going to be our first side to kick things off. And shock horror, we're going to see Lobin running around on the Solus, looking to terrorize the information game coming out of Dplus.
Let's get this party started then for the day. We've got an awful lot of Siege coming your way. 8 back-to-back best of ones. We're going to have seen the eventual winner play today, Des. That's the other way to think about it.
Yes.
We've got all the rest of the teams join us in Phase 2, and you will see it. If you watch every one of these games today, I guarantee you will see a team that will go on to win this tournament. This will be their first performance today. Obviously, a lot's been made of different teams coming in, and to be honest, it's, from my experience, rarely the ones that you expect to do well that end up going all the way through.
Absolutely. For me, it's just about this is where it all begins. For Dplus, again, they're the ones coming in with no real known quantity about them. There's a few surprises they could bring out here to try and catch Lost off guard. You saw the fuse for a second, but obviously with attacker repick, nothing is guaranteed.
Ooh, cameraman.
Yes, he was looking a little cheeky there, maybe with the C4 in hand, was thinking about it, but absolutely not. We'll get straight inside the building, and I think Cameraman's more hoping to try and catch one off from Repel here, for example. Here he goes in the run out as well, hoping to catch one. C4 over the top as well, will find his man, surely! I think it got shot out there just at the last second, but he's back back in. Coated, counting one of them 9 lives.
I think the message has been sent there to Dplus Kia for what sort of game that they're in for, but they were more than ready for it. Impressive stuff from Coated to make sure that he didn't get hit by that explosive. Lobin just out hiding away at the top of the blue stairs there, top of Secret. Many different names for the same set of stairs, but he's just again waiting
Box,
for that
Secret,
to
bunker,
all sorts of stuff.
Tarps. I've heard loads.
He's waiting for, I think, again, the rappel. He's waiting for somebody to get on drones because he will see that that's there you go.
Now he sees.
He starts seeing where the drone player is. He's got the impact nades in pocket. He could well either guide a teammate onto this or he could go out of that soft wall himself. He's
got to impact
definitely
it.
thinking about it.
I mean, he's in such a good spot to make this work, but I think he's nervous. There might be someone else nearby helping on this angle, so he's a little bit hesitant, but should surely make a bit of a go of it. And speaking of going on it as well, inside a break, you got a couple trying to push their way through. It's Yas inside a copy at this point, just working his way down the north side of this top floor. Soldier holding off on the longer angle again has got to be so mindful, and the chance has gone. Lobin not going to be able to find a freebie earlier in the round.
Maya's just going to be watching that tight angle again, just trying to prevent any of that push coming through from Copy. This is a hold up here that we've seen sort of perfected by teams like G2, and Loss just trying to, again, play around that key area. If you can keep hold of the top of those stairs and sort of that vending machine area where we see that bulletproof camera, you're going to have a good time on this defense normally. Lobin still working around underneath. I think Woogieman is more than aware of his position, but he's not going to expose himself just yet. Yas does manage to pick up Maya, though, and that is that position at the top of the stairs that's been cleared out. This could be great for Dplus.
And here we go, ring around the roses now. He's aware of his presence. Who wins out in the firefight? It's Lobin to win things out first against Woogie. So 1-for-1 being exchanged between the two before Lobin being traded out by Coated. Good bit of team play being shown by Dplus in the first round.
They need to continue that, really, because we know that Loss are going to be aggressive. They're going to be out in the map, and they can't allow them to get more joy than maybe 1 kill at a time. They just need to keep those trades coming in. Yas is going to pick up Dash as well. 4 versus 2 now, 4 versus 1 as Dplus start collapsing onto site. Cameraman, he is wedged deep in sight here. Just needs to start trying to pick up some kills, but nope. Coated knows exactly where he is. Steps up, gets himself a nice finish to the round, and that's going to be Dplus Kia picking up 1-0.
Strong first round coming out from Dplus. You know, Yas, there were question marks about him a couple of events ago. He was absolutely terrorizing people the world over as well. And Pressure speaking about that, back when they were known as Down 1 Kia, really running the show for the longest time, a lot of that was on the back of Yas. And there were questions coming into this event. Would we see him really shine? Would we see him step up while the team's in this lull? At least in the first round, he's walked away with a couple. Coated also collecting a couple after dodging that early C4 from Cameraman. So very composed by Dplus. Lost clearly trying to upset the apple cart early on, and Dplus was simply having none of it.
Yeah, you know, I've got to say, there's a lot of Siege to be played yet in this matchup. But in that first round, Dplus have impressed me more than I thought they would do. I, for the longest time, have been a sort of a Dplus and a Damn 1 Kia enjoyer, you know, all the way back. But it's one of those teams, and I kind of had to do the same with Liquid, that I kept backing and backing and backing out of sort of hope almost. And I said, you know, there comes a point where my faith is going to have to wear out, and I've kind of got to that spot with Dplus. They've been, you know, struggling a little bit at the international level over the last 12 months or so, and so I'm kind of coming into this one with much more limited expectations for them, if I'm honest. I've even put them down in my predictions as my 0-3 team through Swiss. But I tell you what, that first round there makes me already think maybe I've, you know, made a bit of a mistake here, because they were looking great on the teamwork. They were moving through. They knew exactly what was going on ahead of them. Good information, winning gunfights. I won't say necessarily back to their best, but they look good.
You know me, Tim. We have to give it a few rounds first. 3 rounds really to see how the attack's going. Also for Lost to adapt to their playstyle as well.
How many halves are there in a game of Siege?
There are 2 halves to a game of Siege, Tim. You've quoted one of my favourite lines. Absolutely there are. You may well see a very different side on the defence of Consulate from Dplus and a very different attacking Loss coming into it. It's why really it's hard to form judgments after just a round or two. I say give it 3. You'll start to get a vibe then for how the half is going, and then we can start drawing some conclusions. But here we're dug inside the basement. We've got the mirror on side, much more dug in sort of style. Though I'm looking towards Maya, Cameraman, and even Lobin here. 3 of them can get out on the roam, and it's a great read. Coated just charging down those stairs, and Lobin, the man of the hour in that last round, really getting things at least started for the side of Lost. He's taken out real early.
Yeah, he's been caught out twice on the roam, really. He got 1 kill last time, so did better than this one. Yeah, Dplus finding him and dealing with him very, very quickly and easily. It's another good start from them. Dash trying to get aggressive here, straight out of the window. That was a big risk, and he nearly loses his life for it. Corton takes a little pot shot with the skeleton key, not going to find his man, but it at least tells them roughly where he is. So again, that's something now Dash needs to be thinking about. Needs that relocate, needs to be changing things up, and he has, I think, got himself indeed away from that bathroom.
Lots have done some of the right things as well, right? Where they've really like tampered down the grenades, the drones in the early round. Last round, when we came down to that last 45 seconds or so, there were only 2 left in pocket for Dplus. This round, sure, there's still 1 in back pocket, 2 out on the field, but the Solus is doing work. The problem is they've got to win gunfights, and right now, Dplus just aren't losing a single one.
They're really not, and like I said, I'm very aware that it's early to be saying this, but you know, I've also got to look at it and think Dplus do look like a phase 2 team versus a phase 1 team at this point in time. You know, we've got to remember that the teams that have come through phase 1 maybe haven't had you know, as good of a second stage of the year and have had to go through LCQs and all sorts of things, and right now Dplus certainly look like the better of the 2. Dots manages to pick up 1 to prevent it being a flawless round, but they know exactly where he is and dealt with quickly and easily with utility there, and that's going to be round 2 going to Dplus, and looking electric at the minute.
Absolutely dominating them is the best way I can summarize it, Tim. Again, every single gunfight being won between Yas and Coated. I think that's now them up to 8-0 across the pair of them. It was 7 kills between them both a second ago, but I'm pretty sure Coated got the last one.
It was
just work to be done, I think, for Los. I imagine if we see this carry on for another round, we will see that tack timeout coming in. A lot of teams, if they go down 0-3, will make use of that end of air quotes the first quarter to say, right, we've played 3 sites, now we've given it a good go, but things clearly aren't working. What needs to change? The frustration being that as much as there is a lot of strategy and tactics to a game of Siege, it is at its heart an FPS. So we're in a spot really where if you can't hit those shots, if you're just getting domed in every single gunfight with Dplus, you will keep on falling behind.
Yeah. The entry is something I feel like Lost would massively benefit from picking up here. Both rounds they've lost that first kill, they've found themselves on the back foot, and so I just think coming out with a little bit of a stronger start, maybe getting up into the face of Dplus a little bit, would be helpful for them, but it's a little bit easier said than done sometimes, especially with the way Dplus are playing at the minute. Like we've said, it's not just about the fact that they're picking up the kills, it's not just the fact that they're sort of right place, right time, it's how they're doing it. It's the information that they're playing in behind. It's the fact that they're winning those gunfights every time, making stuff very, very difficult for Lost. Lobin, definitely one to watch out for. Been a little bit ineffectual in those first 2 rounds on the roam. They need more from Lobin this round.
Probably need a bit more. I mean, again, first round, I really can't complain about it too much. You got a kill, you got traded out. It's going to happen sometimes. Second round was domed off pretty early, but Caraman's already been taken down to, what, 30 HP here before we've even really got the round underway. It's only 30 seconds in. Has to get himself back towards site here and try and dig in. I do worry for them if they lose this site, then it's 3 in a row that they've then find themselves falling so far behind on. And there will be questions to have to be asked, no doubt, in the tack timeout.
Dplus just continuing that path of trying to get themselves inside of the building at the minute. Coated is going to open up the stairs that lead down to the basement, so we're going to see potentially a bit of a multi-sided attack coming in from Dplus here. Going to get themselves down those rear stairs and in towards Archives, but also pressuring from above potentially as well. Woogie man there, Yas moving towards that breach, going to help to try and get that one cleared off and opened up. So Lost, they could well be facing pressure on all sides. I think the big benefit for Lost at the minute is they haven't lost anybody yet. Everybody's still on the board. It's certainly been earlier that they've been sort of losing those deaths, particularly in round 2. So if nothing else, Lost have got a full complement for the time being.
Well, Garage has been opened up, and I'm pretty sure Secret, yeah, it was opened up earlier on by the Bucks, so I think there's that threat as well against Lost where there's that phantom pressure of someone pushing in down server side and stabbing them in the back. Now you've got to worry about both the West and the East. So although Dplus haven't really gone for any big firefights yet, just the sheer fact of what they've opened up and where they've shown presence is already going to be stretching Lost's mental a little bit, saying, right, where are they coming from? What we've got to deal with here? How do we deal if someone stabs us in the back? Lots to think about.
Soldier just watching for that yellow stairs rotate for the time being. It's Lobin who could potentially be cut off by that, but whilst he keeps himself up there, he's not in a bad spot. Harper's going in to get this diffuser down. I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to make this stick or not. Dash
Definitely
manages to pick up Woogieman, and I don't think they even have any idea that that's going down, that Harper's managed to get in there. Yas picks up Dash in a very late trade. We've got him bouncing in either direction, but 3 versus 3, it's not quite the sight it used to be, isn't Garage on Consulate, but still a very difficult one to retake. Maya's trying to find anything, picks up Soldier at yellow, door takes down the Lion. They're fighting in every direction, every which way here, a loss, but whilst Dplus have that vertical, it's going to be very difficult on the retake.
I sent one on the upstairs, but then Yas has cut across 6-0. He finds himself at coated with another couple of kills. They are absolutely running away with this, Tim.
They really are. I love that play from Harper. We've focused so far on the gunfights and the, you know, player at heart. I love to see those moments where somebody like Harper sees an opportunity and takes it. They decide they've got the cover. He gets himself in there through the Toxic Babe. And to be honest with you, Loss have absolutely no idea that diffuser's going down, I don't think, because naturally if they did, another smoke would come out. You know, more utility would come out to try and prevent that. They'd try and play in, maybe get hit by Yas on the cover or something, but there was nothing there. So Loss just completely unaware, and no wonder they're taking a tactical timeout.
Like I said, you see this pretty much every game. If a team goes down 3-0, you'll have a tack timeout before the half just really runs away from you. And hopefully these 45 seconds are enough for Lost to get themselves back in the game. I keep on mentioning it, but Yas and Koti currently sat at 12-0 between the two of them. It's beautiful stuff, and that last round there with the vertical control as well, everything just going their way. Was a bit worried for a second when Maya took the 1v1 inside a boiler and it was the line he was fighting against outside. I was like, hey, Mr. Whoever's running upstairs, turn around. This is a chance for you guys to take a 2v1, but he was so committed to getting the vertical control onto the diffuser itself. And while you saw the outcome, they absolutely crushed them once again. Good start for their first game.
Definitely looking very solid at the minute. That's a full 3 rounds that have been won. Dplus have only seen 2 sites. Lost did try Garage twice. They're going to go back up to the top floor, which was the first site choice that we had. 6-0 for Yas and Kota. 12-0 overall. Loss in 3 rounds, unable to pick up a single kill against those 2 players. Dplus looking great right now. I'm fascinated. I'm not trying to rush us out of this first half, but I really want to see Dplus on defense as well now. I want to see how that looks, because at the minute I'm back on the Dplus train. I'm excited about Dplus.
You have 100%.
I lowered my expectations, and here they are surpassing them.
You've done a Homer Simpson. You've backed into the bush and you've come back out in your
Dplus jersey. I'm absolutely loving this.
Absolutely. Well, we'll find out how they go in these next 3. See if that timeout does anything for the side of Los. For me, again, it's about these gunfights in the early round. We've got a lot of independent roam game coming out, and like you're seeing here, every time Lobin's got anywhere near a gunfight inside of Visa, there's been someone nearby, either at the top of Spiral or hanging out towards benches, ready to try and commit the trade. And a smoke going down this early, 40 seconds in the round, certainly not ideal. With Soldier this time round picking him up, and it only looks like it's going from bad to worse.
It does. You know, they've had the tactical timeout, and surely part of that has got to be, look, we're losing the entry fights. We're not really holding on to map control because of that. And then what happens? 30 seconds in, bang, you've lost an entry, smoke's gone, Lobin's half health, and it ain't looking great. You know, I don't know. The Lost just don't seem to be able to change anything up there.
For me, again, it's about the independent roaming here. You've got a couple of players, mainly Cameraman and Lobin, that have been out trying to roam by themselves, and they just get squeezed, they get punished, they get droned out, they get figured out, and they lose a couple of players before the execute even begins.
And let's not forget, Des, this is on New Consulate. This is a map made of tiny little rooms and lots of corners. Roamers should be having a field day. They should be able to, you know, have an effective presence on this map. It's difficult for the attackers going in and having to clear all of those corners. We've seen this from Lobin a couple of times, but he's just not daring enough to get out there. This time, he takes action. He gets the kill onto Soldier and gets away with his life. That's more of the effect that we need to be seeing out of Lobin. But now, He's being chased down.
Like I say, he's just been so scared for most of the game as well, and it's the constant solo play that's caught him out. This is the first time he's made use of that secret run out. This time actually gets the kill. Only really thanks to Soldier strafing too far across to the right. Otherwise, I think Logan would have happily sat inside and not chanced the run out. However, like you say, he was being chased down. I think he's managed to avoid detection for the most part. Sees one more, and there we go. Second time round, they walk away with it. This is the sort of stuff they tried back in round 1 with the C4 coming out through Cubby, and Logan trying to make a play around this area. That is a little bit unforgivable, but Logan's found 3. It's still a 2v3 though, and you've got Woogie and Yas still to try and push in.
Quite simply, Loss have to win this round. After the work that Logan has just done there, and I'm well aware, I called him out at the beginning.
Oh, Woogie. Not at this level, my friend. Not at this level.
The Woogie man has scared himself on that one.
Halloween was a few days ago, mate. You have to be able to get him back up at the very least, though. They're down to 15 seconds, though, Tim. They're nowhere near the site. It's going to be running and try and get frags here, which simply is not going to happen.
No, very unlikely. You know, yeah, coming into that round, I called Logan out. I said we needed to see more. He'd been ineffectual in those first 3. If you're going to be out in the map, you've got to be getting the job done, and he's really delivered there. And look at the difference. Loss put a round on the board. So when Logan's out on the roam, he gets the entry, he gets, well, it wasn't Soldier got the entry, but when he gets that couple of kills, when he takes people down, he should never have got away with 2 from Yellow Door, by the way, but that's another story. That's Dplus Kia making a big mistake. But yeah, Logan comes out, better performance out on the roam. He's much more slippery. He gets 1 down at the secret stairs onto Soldier. They don't manage to chase him down, and he's out of Yellow Door. He's just much more slippery, much better. Lost waking up after that tack timeout.
That probably comes down to the drones. I mean, ironically, that's the round where Dplus had probably more drones left up than any time before, and they know Logan's been trying to play this sort of rat game down in the basement, running around, keeping them guessing, but just clearly didn't figure him out on any of those drones they had set up on that basement floor. At the very least, it's not going to be a 7-0, so I'm pretty sure Freshest Bingo can wait a little bit longer. Los with 1 on the board. It was off the back of 1 player. Now we've got to see it really translate into a bit more motivation across the whole team, seeing them winning gunfights, seeing them play more as a team. For me, again, it comes back to the roam game, though. Can we see them playing off in pairs and looking to trade each other rather than having these solo independent roamers? On a split site, this is going to be an interesting one, though.
Yeah, it really is. It's always a site that I enjoy watching. It was on the old Consulate, is on the new Consulate. We've got, when we call it a split site, if you're wondering what we mean by that, we've got a bomb site on 2 floors. So we've got 1 bomb site down in Archives, and then we've got 1 on the mid floor as well, as you can see. So there's lots of options for the attackers. You can go in, you can take top floor, you can work the verticals, try and play into that mid floor site, or you can go in through the garage, you can go in downstairs, you can try and push forward and go direct into the Archive site. You know, lots of options going on. Lobin, again, getting a job done. Impact nades himself back in. Lobin has woken up.
We've seen this a few times, actually. You can now jump out of admin windows, and so a few people realize the other day, they're like, wait, that's a thing you can do? You can indeed, and I think it was Voki we saw employing it as well in their game against Fury. It was in their very first one. Lobin is simply on fire, dragging his team through this game single-handedly. Coated restores some order, up to 7-1 himself. Now with Lobin offline, can Dplus win the 3v4?
Well, this is it. Lobin's job, again, is done. He's played that really well. The only thing I would say, and it's not a criticism because he's got 2 kills, he's catapulted Loss into the round. The Solace could be very useful here. If you're down in Archives and they're trying to plant upstairs, then you've got that opportunity to potentially spot it out. It's probably not going to matter too much. Yas does have the diffuser in hand. I would imagine that Loss, with those 2 kills from Lobin, should be able to manage the rest of this round quite effectively.
Really good read from Woogie as well. Almost got the second kill onto Dash, which would have brought this round back to a 2v2, and suddenly it becomes very winnable. The blessing really is that there's still 90 seconds to play with. They're going for the hot drop, but now they've got to be careful about where they get tagged from because they know they're being encroached on from above. Watching the angle, they're ready and waiting, and he finds Maya coming in behind. I said Maya versus Yas might be a big one to watch. So far, it is the Yas show.
Yas has read that beautifully, knows where that challenge is going to come from 5 seconds before it does, and gets himself a real easy pickup. But I like this from Loss. They've calmed down. There's a minute left to go. They know that there's a lot to be done here, and they don't want to be losing bodies, so they don't want to peek anything. They're going to force Dplus into their lines of sight. But as you say, Yas has got an opportunity. Surely Coated sees him first. He does, but somehow they managed to get down the set. There's 1 for Coated. Dash is low health as well. Diffuser's down. down. Lost might have just handed them an opportunity to get another round here. Dplus, they just need to find this final kill. Nate comes out. It's going to force Dash to use those toes to get himself away.
So many nades, to keep tossing a couple at him there as well to keep him back even longer. And that pillar position is so strong to play in here. Kota can dance left, right. And they do pull it back to him from that man disadvantage. Doesn't matter what Lobin's done for him in the early round. Dplus stabilize and manage to close the round out. This is the total opposite, I think, of what many expected coming into this game.
Me, I'll hands up, say absolutely. I think sometimes it's easy to fall into that trap that we've kind of already seen Lost play. We've seen them play well in phase one, so you think, yeah, you know, they're going to have that momentum, they're going to keep going. But yeah, Dplus coming in and showing that they're just a bit of a cut above at the minute. Like I say, Lobin definitely walking up in sort of the last couple of rounds, in round 4 and 5 particularly. They still need more from him, but the rest of the team needs to step up as well. If Lobin's going to come in and get himself a big double, look at this, straight out of there, gets one, gets himself a second as he comes back in as well. That's such a great start for the team, but they can't let themselves be drawn back in like that.
Nah, so close from Boogie, as I mentioned. I mean, just to kind of look, summarise the number, we've had 5 rounds gone so far. We've got 5 kills across the other 4 members of Lost. That just, at this level, at this stage where, you know, okay, you're not going to get knocked out if you lose this game. It's unacceptable. You've got to see so much more coming in from this. Here we go down into the basement once more for the last defensive round coming out from
They're on the Solus again, inside a main line. And here for loss.
Well, we marched. Last time round we saw handedly.
I sort of feel like they need him to survive a little bit longer. I'm not, but then I feel like I'm putting everything on Lobin. You know, he's getting the entry kills. Oh, they need him to survive longer. What they actually need is everybody else to be doing the job in the late round as well. Maya, so quiet so far. You know, such a great player over phase one. They definitely need to be engaging him, and maybe that's what will happen when he moves on to the attack.
Yep.
For the time being, Lobin is going to be spotted out, but he's wasted half of the round. He's got the entry kill. He's taken the book offline as well, which removes a lot of that verticality that could be used against them. Dash manages to find Soldier. 5 versus 3. Lost are looking pretty good for a 2-4 split here.
I really think the Solus has done so much work for them this half in cutting down the intel game coming out. Great shot from Dash as well onto Woogie. Much better here as well. A couple of kills coming in the mid-round. So actually, Lost will get that saving grace. Now, you're still against Yas. He's still 7-0. We've seen Yas before walk through teams for fun. There is every possibility that he can do it again, but they're down to the last 60 seconds, Tim, and they don't have any vertical control.
No, they don't. Very difficult for Dplus to win anything here. You can see the silhouettes up above them. As soon as they try to walk into Garage, they're going to get put down.
They are kind of in the wrong place here. You've got Yas outside Garage, and the diffuser's on the ground floor. There we go.
There you go. Yas tries to walk in. Headshot from Maya, I would imagine, who I don't know exactly where Maya is, but I'd give a guess that he was probably up above. No, he wasn't. He was down just behind Yellow Pillar.
Plain pillar.
But yeah, well played from Lost, really.
What? All right, Lobin.
Lobin goes for another jump.
I mean, I tell you what, given how he's played this half, he deserves that.
Have a go.
Have it.
Yeah.
There's still four players here. Oh, nice shot from Harper.
We're going to give Harper that one. Absolutely beautiful one tap round the corner. Completely and utterly meaningless in terms of the round, but a belting shot nonetheless. So a tip of the hat to Harper, but ultimately the round goes to Lost. 2-4 half, and I think, honestly, Lost, if I was them, I'm sort of sighing a little bit of a relief there because, you know, that could have been very different. Could have been 5-1, could have been 6-0 with the way it was going to begin with. But no, Loss have managed to cling on not too badly. This next round is going to be super important. If Dplus come in, have a solid defense and go 5-2, then I start thinking it's difficult for Loss to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, again, just there's two halves to a game of Siege is what I always say. A 4-2 scoreline is not super ideal as the defender, or a 2-4 as the defenders is not ideal. But this is both of these teams like one of their favorite maps. I think the only map both teams love more is Nighthaven, and I was dying to hope we get to see that map coming into this. But as you can see, obviously.
Line up, and I thought, are they going to be playing with Aroma? You know, we've just seen very well positioned Roma. Right place, right time, reads the game very well, and will just catch them out.
Dude, I've always thought about Yas, as good as he is, like at times with his roams, he will use a good half of the map to complete a flank onto the other side. And I'm like, with a good drone, you get sniffed out here and the team has the answer to you. He has been rewarded for that kind of extravagant roaming style is the way that I can describe it. Whether or not he achieves the same here, time will tell. For now, still Lost trying to get themselves set up on multi-sides of the map. As you can see, all the red outlines, 2 or 3 stacking up towards yellow, 1 out towards admin. Lobin working his way in underneath the scan of an EE1D. Nothing to be found, and his Yas feeling cheeky, Tim.
It's just a matter of time, I think. He's just biding his time. Cameraman, however, is going to pick up Woogieman with a nice headshot from the upside down rappel. Going to find him inside of admin, I would make a guess, or maybe on the run out. I think
it was a run out.
A little bit of aggression there coming from Woogie. Not going to work out as Cameraman manages to get himself inside. On the Jackal as well. A Jackal, very, very highly banned operator in ranked, but not so much here in pro play. But can be very, very disruptive, of course. Picks up those footprints on the ground, can scan them out, and will live ping where their owners are inside of the map. So could make it a difficult day for Yas. It could be a good answer to a roaming Solis.
It's used a lot as a supplementary operator alongside a Lion or a Dakabi, for example. 1, just to make sure you have the ability to force those roamers back, but 2, as you're seeing here, good ability to do some vertical work as well. Not that you need it, because you've got a sledge and a book on side at the same time, but that ability to slowly box roamers back in towards site is a big part of why you bring things like the Dakabi, like the Lion, like the Jackal. Top floor still fully in their control at this point, and really, as we get into the last 60 seconds, you've got to see Lost starting to move at some pace here. Maya's been yellow ping, which means Yas should start moving into action soon.
Absolutely, he's going to be opening up that second hatch. There is a man underneath it, going to have to relocate, but Dplus probably fairly happy here. 4 versus 5. Yas still active out on the roam. He's just waiting for his opportunity. He's going to catch him as he comes across.
He might get 2 here.
I think he knows. I don't know if everybody's just moving away from him, but no! Lobin stepped straight into him. I asked whether Yas could out Lobin, and he does it directly by finding that kill and just leveling things off. 4 versus 4, 20 seconds left to go.
And this is the problem, a really slow round from Lost overall in terms of getting map control. Now they're being punished by the fact that 1 or 2 players from Dplus can just stab them in the back as they try and look towards site. Dots is waiting for his march and he's going to find it coming on forwards, not inside of the intoxicating smoke, but here's Soldier. Oh boy, just look at him. Just look. Okay, whatever. It's done. 32 seconds left on this one. Dash goes down. Yas finds a triple. It's a closeout they were looking for.
I don't hate that from the mirror. I think just, you know, good judgment there of I can burn another 4 or 5 seconds here. It's always a risky little game.
It can be.
If that hatch drop comes in a second sooner, then maybe your plan gets completed. But all's well that ends well for Dplus. To be honest, I've got to say Dplus did look better on the defence for me than Lost did. They controlled things sort of better. I think Lost, like you picked up on it there, Des, it was a little bit slow from them. I don't feel like they had too much of a direction on the attack. back. You know, they left it a long time to try and get themselves in there and put that diffuser down, and it seemed to be sort of a last option. They didn't really have too much control. Yas was still, you know, roaming around upstairs. They hadn't dealt with him. So for me, Loss in this next round need to come in. They need to recognise where Dplus are playing. They need to recognise where the problems are, and most importantly, they need to deal with them. You know, if you know Yas is out on the roam, guess what? You got to go and find Yas out on the roam, and you got to make sure you get that kill, because otherwise it's going to come back to bite you.
Well, that's the painful thing is, a lot of teams will try and drone around and figure out, okay, what's actually on the map here. If we can only see 4 operators, where is the 5th? Where the hell are they playing? What are they up to? But I don't think they actually really went that far with things like Solus on side. This is why she gets so many bans. It just denies away so much information that you would just assume you're never going to be able to have full information on where the defenders are, what it is they're doing, and realistically, what countered them are actually on site itself. So it was really good usage coming out from the defensive side. This round, though, Tim, we aren't seeing a Solus. We've got a mute on side from Coated. Wargy moves over to running around with that 1.5x, but without the Solus, this is really where you might see Lost actually have a little bit of, I don't want to say freedom or success here, but at the very least they can get more information.
Yeah, it could be. They've got the Monty on side as well, so likely going to try and sort of brute force an approach in behind Dots, let him feed that information in. He's got diffuser in hand as well, maybe try and pick up a little forced plant. Could come, I guess there's multiple places that you could use that Monty to get in. It's not likely, I don't think, to be one of the window plants. You'd maybe try and push in through the breachable wall, for example, get into meeting. I'm not sure. We'll see how they progress. It'd also be a good way of dealing with the top of the stairs that I spoke about as being such a critical point on that meeting door vending machine. That corridor there, again, and it looks like that's probably where Dots is going to be heading for now. Get yourself in there and just really bully them out of those power positions.
I like that they're bringing the Monty here, because we've seen so many teams in play-ins get stuck trying to push into this central hallway. You know, we had the Thermite come along back in the first half from Dplus to get the break room opened up to make it a bit easier to step forward. But a Monty, I think, is just so valuable at forcing the defenders back. If nothing else, you get free information against you, nades can come swinging, players can swing, it doesn't really matter. But at the very least, it makes this area a lot more dicey to defend as Dplus.
This is it then. Dots is going to try to push forward. The problem with the position that he's coming from, rather than coming from the stairs side, he's coming from the coffee door side, from the central here. It puts him in a crossfire. He's potentially got one on either side of him, and as a Monty, obviously, that's the last place you want to be. If he came from the other side and out towards the top of stairs, it maybe just gives him that little bit of extra protection. It's where Maya's actually working from now. If he works from there, maybe a little bit easier for the Monty. There's one behind vending machine, and Dots could get caught out if he doesn't know about him.
If they don't know about Harper, he could absolutely destroy this by taking out the Monty. Like, you'd assume they know. Based on my positioning, I kind of assume they do, and it's just on Harper now to make the swing happen. He's got to get a big kill here, though. Dots is on the other side of the vending machine, I assume, because he knows his player is there. Maya's got him pinned down. They know exactly where he is, but it's who lands the shot first here. And it's going to be Harper finding it out. Does get traded out immediately by Lobin. They've got over that problem, but now they've got 30 seconds left to make this push in work. Lobin inside of sight, looking in towards Cubby. One off towards his left as well, dancing around the table, but simply can't find anyone yet, Tim.
He's just got himself into a bit of a difficult position here. He's in no man's land.
No nades.
He's just wheeling around, trying to find anything he can. Dots does go in, and what a big nitro from Yas to take down Lobin. That leaves the Monty all alone to be picked up by Dplus, and that's going to be the round. 6-2, and they are cruising towards a victory on Consulate.
Such a well-structured defense coming out from Dplus, because really what they've done there is force all the utility to be used out towards that east side of the map. The entry into admin, the double hard breach coming out from the Monty, the nades to burn through the Wamai magnets and get rid of that shield. They have nothing left to really attack in towards Cubby, and the Monty can't just walk in there or he gets shot in the back from the player inside a console. So it was a really good read, and really Loss have just played straight into their game plan in that round. Super well structured by Dplus, and at 6-2, it feels like this one is far too hard to come back from for Loss.
Yeah, I don't know. I look at it and I just think it's easy to look back in hindsight and say,
always,
you know, this could have been done, that could have been done. I don't really like the Monty pushing through that middle door. I said it at the time, you're kind of walking into a potential crossfire. Somebody can, you know, quickly push out of meeting door. I know they had that covered by Maya, but I don't know if maybe they get a little bit more success the other way around. Maya losing the gunfight with Harper really didn't help them. I know that Lobin picked up the trade, but it just left them short-handed on that side versus what they were planning, and that quiet game just continues for Maya. You know, a couple of days ago, you expect him to absolutely destroy Harper in behind that,
yes.
get the space for the Monty, and everybody pushes forward. Yas looks like he's going to be trying to take a leaf out of cameraman's book here, stood on that breach, ready for the rappel. Is Lobin going to get caught out? Surely not this easily. It's this easy if you go, Yas. It's there for you, but no, the cover is in place, and it's cameraman himself. He's not going to have his own angle used against Loss.
That's exactly it. They know that they like to employ the angle themselves. Why would you let it be used against you? Not without checking it, for example, getting a drone up on platform or having someone hold it. Really good start to the round. It takes off Yas, who was 11-1, by the way. Say what you want about him coming into the competition. I think he has put a lot of those comments to rest and said, you know, I'm still here. I'm still fragging.
Really is. We're going to see Dots just sending in. Ooh, that's nice utility clearance. We've seen some great use of bulletproof cameras at this event so far. We've seen, I think particularly, the Dark Zero and G2 match was a big one for those bulletproof cameras showing their worth, and it certainly will continue as it goes on. But a great pickup from the Twitch drone there. Woogieman just roaming around on the mirror, kind of near sight on that semi-roam yellow stairs, just looking to hold on to it with the Vector.
Well, I love rather than trying to run away, he's actually chose to push down and try and go at least a little bit aggressive here. They were expecting something, and sure enough, Dash was downstairs, but Maya managed to get in behind you and take out a Soldier. That's going to break part of this top floor hold, which they committed a mirror window to, for example. And now Woogie has got himself dug in on yellow stairs. So top floor largely taken by the attackers here. Now they need to get to work on the verticals, because we've not got a lot of time left to him. Only 75 seconds left in this round.
Yeah, and that for me has been one of the big things on Loss's attacks. We said it on the garage attack, you know, maybe just a little bit of lack of direction, not really sure. Again, you know, last time around, you just kind of got there at the end. You had Lobin on the Finker, just stood in the middle of meeting, just trying to find a kill. And I just don't feel like they're ever getting themselves poised and positioned for a proper execute where they've got the control they need. It's more of a bit of a Hail Mary towards the end of the round. So 45 seconds left to go, using those verticals. But I tell you what, Cortez not scared, is it? He's having a look back. He's going to see if he can find anybody on the reverse.
He's just dancing around as the ceiling seems to come down on top of it, but somehow still inside of there, still not been sniffed out by Loss, which means when the hatch drop comes through, Coated is in prime position to stab them in the back, Tim.
Lobin drops the
Here we go.
and drops the players. In they go, looking to get that plant down. Maya is going to start sticking it. Coated needs to find this kill, but no, he's going to be covered. Oh, what a kill from Coated! He's just a little bit too late to protect the plant, but he gives him the one pump on the shotgun to shut him down, and that is now up to cameraman to try and hold them off. He's not going to get into place in time. Coated's just won this one for them. What a play out of the cubby from Coated.
Not even just the play, but the whole game. Dplus looking on a completely different level. It's not even one player that has commanded that. It has been everything. You've seen Yas fly. You've seen Coated fly. They're all getting involved, and that is one of the most surprising performances I think I've seen on the international stage.
That looked like Dplus of old.
Yeah, it did, and that is a terrifying concept.
Be very afraid, because if that continues, well, it's early days. They've beat one team. I don't want to, you know, they've got to play others yet, and they're going to go on to, as you know, Swiss always is, they're going to go on to more and more difficult games. But I tell you what, that Dplus team has got more in the tank. I'll tell you that for sure.
I think so. I mean, obviously now they go 1-0, which does mean tomorrow they'll play against other teams that go 1-0.
Yeah.
They also have a good first day like them. That challenge will come if they can make it, of course, in towards the knockout stages, in towards our live finals. Very interesting conversation to have there, but you've only got to win 3 best-of-1s to make it to that point. They've already done 1 of 3, Tim.
Yep. That's it. It's just it's over quickly, really, in phase 2. You get a couple of wins, you get that third, you know, it's done. And so teams can run away with it and get themselves into those live finals in a few days' time, you know, before you know it. And
tournament of upsets so far, and although at the end of the play-ins we did see everything kind of
maybe a little bit more one-sided than we're going to have over the next couple of days.
Let's throw it to the desk then to have us get their thoughts on how that game went. Guys, are you as surprised as we are?
Appreciate it, boys. That was a phenomenal game to start things off. And now we're talking to Houndbird on Dplus real quick. Hey, dude, can you hear us? You hear us okay?
Okay.
Good.
How was that game? That game was really quick.
Oh,
All good?
yeah, good.
And sweet? Yeah. That game was over really, really fast. How did you do that so quick?
Just my teams competition enemy team slows analyzing many. We analyzing and coaching and scream is practice many practice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd like to talk about the maps back there because I thought maybe we'd go to Nighthaven Labs. I thought maybe we'd see that. You guys banned it first.
Yeah.
We go to Consulate instead. Why did you want to go to Consulate?
Because lab is strong. I think it's very strong map.
Yeah.
Besides Consulate, we are strong. Yeah, really.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right, dude. Yeah, you did really good. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and until then, we'll see you then, okay?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Yeah. Congratulations, man. They did really, really solid, man. I didn't think we were going to see that game end so quickly, Jesse. That was crazy.
No, I mean, that was a really impressive showing. I mean, we did think that maybe they were the underdogs coming in, but they showed what they can do against Los. And
What's up, Jack?
I've come back.
Yeah.
You're back, Jack?
Yeah, I'm back.
Hey, I mean, that was a great game, right? We saw such a strong attacking half from Dplus. I talked about how sometimes in the past, they've been kind of slow on attack, but they came through. The drones were there. They had really good intel. And for a lot of that start of the game, they just had Los's numbers and always knew where they were going to be on the map.
There's two individual players that I want to talk about. The first one is Coated, because he often gets seen as kind of the second entry. He really stepped up today on the entry kills and the aggression spectacularly. And the second player is Yas. Now, obviously, I'm picking the two best players in terms of performance of Damwon here, or Dplus here. However, Yas is one of the best lurkers in Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
And I think people seem to have forgotten that. Certainly Lost One definitely forgot that Yas was incredible at lurking, particularly when he was playing the Solace in the very first defensive round or the second one on the basement, where he just pops up with a kill into Piano, gets himself back out, really smart to get himself back out, and then just completely made Lost go and look for him, waste the time, and you've seen Soldier pick up the kill on 0 seconds.
Yeah, and I want to highlight some of those rounds where Los actually were able to find some successful defenses. The first time they got a defensive win was round number 4, and Derry on the cast actually said, and I quote, ironically, Dplus have more drones than they had on future rounds, and I actually think that's really key, because Dplus were using their drones in the early round to find players and convert those into picks. The one time where they weren't able to find that successful attack, we ended up seeing those drones not really get used. They weren't being shot out. They weren't in positions where they were finding players. And because of that, the information was weaker for Dplus. Los started jumping out. They started getting those opportunities. Eventually, by the end of it, we even saw the Mozzie coming out from, I believe it was Dash. And that was like a big kind of turning point that, again, the drones weren't really able to find that impact. So I think when they were able to shut down the information, Los had some good rounds, but ultimately that was just nowhere near consistent enough.
So the big thing for Dplus, yes, this was their second preference map for both teams. Dplus did phenomenally in their first half. Had we seen a side swap, had we seen it be the other way around, could we have seen Los come out the gate swinging with that kind of momentum, or did they just lose the plot?
Do you know what? I actually don't think so, because if you look at Consulate, every single team, if you give them a starting side choice on Consulate, is choosing defense. So the fact that Dplus came out on attack, got themselves a 4-2 split, they were only ever going to kick on from there. So if it was the other way around, I think, it might have even been a little bit of a further scoreline.
Yeah, and I think, it was good we got to talk to Houndbird even a little bit there, because he talked about how Los aren't that strong on this map, and there were a couple of odds out there. Los were undefeated coming in on Consulate, but I think that he was able to read into a lot of what they wanted to do, especially on attack. I really liked the way they played those defenses. What we saw in that very first garage round was they kind of let Los sit outside the building for a while, take their time, they let them stall out. They still had one Solus that was hiding away. That never got droned, that never got checked. That brought things back to their favor. And then when the execute happened, it was so low time, there was no good cover outside of garage, and we really saw DK exploit that from Los. So yeah, really well done by them.
And congratulations to DK for annihilating everyone's 0-3 prediction, like straight off the rip. For any of us that picked that, what, I picked it, you picked it. I mean, we got to take our lumps where it happens, I guess, right? So Jack, who was your 0-3 again?
Dark Zero.
You mother. Yeah, I know. I get it. I understand. That's at some point along the way we're going to get the European teams to go down, and then he's really going to start crying. That's what's going to be funny. Last thing to take note of, you notice how everyone on Dplus is already gone? The guys on Los, and they're still over here talking about everything. What do Los have to do to bounce back tomorrow?
I think maybe they underestimated their opponent in terms of the map bans, in terms of the way they were playing, in terms of knowing them. And obviously it's hard because you find out your opponent, you know, one day before the game, basically.
Yeah.
I think go back to basics. I think is the big thing for them is they're a good quality team. They ran through the play-ins. It's just a blip. And that's the beauty of Swiss, is that they can still go through. They're not playing best of threes for elimination yet, but it's just about picking themselves up and going tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think play together, right? That's the big thing I would tell Los, because so often we saw them out on the roam and they would lose a one, there would be a swing, and the push would come through usually from Yas, and it was just never ended up getting traded. Whether that was near the site or far off on the roam with a Solus somewhere lurking on the map, it did feel like very often that trade game was just out of the question for Los. They play a little bit more together, maybe a map that kind of favors that a little bit more. I think they find better success.
All right, game one's already done and dusted, and we move right into game two immediately after this. It's G2 and Scars coming up next.